The day my mother asked me to sign over my house was the day I finally saw her for who she really was. I'd spent 31 years being the perfect daughter, but that single conversation changed everything. My name is Riley, and this is the story of how I learned that family isn't always what it seems. Darling, you know I only want what's best for the family, Mom said, stirring her tea with practiced elegance. We sat in my kitchen, the morning sun streaming through windows I'd cleaned just yesterday, knowing she'd inspect them. I don't understand why you need the deed, Mom. The house is already in my name. She sighed, that familiar disappointed sound that always made me feel 2 inches tall. It's about protection, Riley. Asset protection. Your father and I have discussed this at length. I gripped my coffee mug tighter. Dad's been dead for 3 years. Don't be difficult. She set her spoon down with a gentle clink. You know what I mean. We've always made decisions as a family. The way she said family made my skin crawl. Everything was always about family with her, but somehow family meant whatever she wanted it to mean. I have a meeting with the lawyer next week, she continued. We can handle the transfer then. It's just a formality. My phone buzzed, a text from Daphne. Still on for tonight? Who's that? Mom peered across the table. Just work, I lied, sliding the phone face down. About the house. Oh, speaking of work, she cut in. I ran into Truman at the grocery store. He mentioned you're up for a promotion. My stomach dropped. I hadn't told her about that yet. How did you... Mothers have their ways. She smiled, reaching across to pat my hand. I told him how proud I was of my little girl, of course, though I did mention you might need flexibility with your schedule, what with helping me with the charity gala coming up. You did what? The words came out sharper than I intended. Riley, dear, your career will always be there. Family obligations come first. She stood, smoothing her perfectly pressed slacks. I should go. Don't forget about Sunday dinner. Your cousin Sarah will be there with her new baby. I walked her to the door, my mind racing. As she reached for the handle, she turned. Oh, and I noticed your new neighbour. Nick, was it? Very handsome, though perhaps not quite suitable. You know how I feel about musicians. How did she even know about Nick? We'd only spoken twice. After she left, I stood in my entryway, staring at the door. My phone buzzed again. Daphne. Hello? Earth to Riley? Me. Sorry. Mom ambush. Need wine. Lots. Daphne. The usual spot at 7. You can tell me everything. I walked through my house, running my fingers along the walls I'd painted myself, the kitchen I'd renovated with my own savings, the garden I'd planted in memory of Dad. Everything here was mine, earned through years of hard work and careful planning. The doorbell rang, making me jump. Through the peephole, I saw Nick holding a mail envelope. Hey, he said when I opened the door, his easy smile making my chest tight. This was delivered to my place by mistake. Thanks. Our fingers brushed as he handed over the envelope. Listen, I'm playing at the Blue Room tonight if you're interested. No pressure, just thought. I can't. The words came out automatically, Mom's voice echoing in my head. Family obligations. His smile dimmed slightly. Another time, maybe. I watched him walk away, then looked down at the envelope in my hands. It was from Aunt Alice, Mom's estranged sister. I hadn't heard from her in years. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a handwritten note. Riley, we need to talk about your mother. There are things you need to know. Things about the past, about your father's death, about the family money. Call me when you're ready for the truth. Below was a phone number and an address in the next town over. My hands shook as I read it again. The truth? About Dad? My phone buzzed one more time. Mom, I've scheduled the lawyer for Tuesday at 2. Don't be late, darling. You know how I hate waiting. I stared at the message, then at Alice's letter, then at the walls of my house. For the first time in my life, I felt something unfamiliar stirring in my chest. Rage. I spent the next morning at work staring at Aunt Alice's letter instead of my computer screen. The words blurred together, but the phone number at the bottom remained crystal clear, taunting me. "Earth to Riley!" Truman's voice snapped me back to reality. He was leaning against my cubicle wall, coffee in hand. "You've been reading that same paper for 20 minutes. I quickly folded the letter. "Just some family stuff." "Speaking of family," he pulled up a chair. "I ran into your mom yesterday. She cornered me by the organic produce." "Yeah, she mentioned that." I forced a smile. "Thanks for telling her about my promotion possibility." He winced. "Sorry about that. She has this way of extracting information. Before I knew it, I was telling her about the position and—" He paused, studying my face. "Wait, did something happen?" "She told them I needed a flexible schedule for family obligations." "She what?" Truman's coffee cup hit my desk with a thud. "Riley, that promotion was practically yours. Johnson's been impressed with your work for months." "I know." My voice cracked slightly. "This isn't the first time, is it?" His tone softened. "Remember that scholarship opportunity in grad school? The one you turned down because your mom suddenly needed help with her charity work?" The memory hit like a punch to the gut. That was different. Dad had just gotten sick. Was it different, really? He leaned forward. "Look, I'm just going to say it. Your mother's got her hooks in deep. Every time you're about to do something for yourself, she swoops in with some family emergency." My phone lit up with a text from Mom. "Darling, don't forget to pick up my dress from the cleaners before the lawyer appointment tomorrow." Truman glanced at the message. "Lawyer appointment?" "She wants me to transfer my house deed. For asset protection." "Your house?" He sat up straight. "The one you bought with your own money? The one you spent 2 years renovating?" I nodded. "Hell no." He stood up. "That's not happening. Come on, we're getting coffee. Real coffee, not this office sludge." 10 minutes later, we sat in the cafe across the street. The letter from Aunt Alice burned in my pocket. "You've never talked about your aunt," Truman said, as if reading my mind. "Mom doesn't talk about her. They had some falling out years ago before Dad died." I pulled out the letter. "But she sent me this yesterday." Truman read it, his eyebrows rising. "Things about your father's death? The family money? Riley, you have to call her. Mom would be furious. Maybe that's exactly why you should." He handed the letter back. "When was the last time you did something your mother would hate?" I opened my mouth to argue, then stopped. I couldn't remember. My phone buzzed again. A text from Nick. "No pressure, but playing again tonight if you change your mind. Different venue, better music." Truman peered at the message. "Who's Nick?" "New neighbor. He's a musician. Attractive. Mom says he's not suitable." Truman laughed. "So that's a yes." "And let me guess, you turned him down because—" "Family obligations," I muttered. "Right." He stood up. "Here's what you're going to do. First, you're calling your aunt. Second, you're not signing anything tomorrow. And third, you're going to that show tonight. But no buts. Your mother's got you so twisted up you can't even see it anymore." He grabbed his coat. "Call your aunt, Riley. What's the worst that could happen?" Back at my desk, I stared at Alice's number. My fingers shook as I dialed. She answered on the second ring. "Riley, I was hoping you'd call." "The letter— What did you mean about Dad's death?" "Not over the phone." Her voice was firm. "Can you meet me? Today?" I glanced at the time. 2:30 p.m. "I get off work at 5. "Perfect. There's a diner called Mel's just outside town. Know it?" "Yes." "Meet me there at 6. She paused. "And Riley?" "Don't tell your mother." After hanging up, I sat there, heart pounding. Then I picked up my phone again. Me. "What venue tonight?" Nick. "The Red Door, 9 p.m. Coming?" Me. "Save me a spot." For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. Or maybe I was having a panic attack. Either way, something was finally happening. My phone lit up one more time. Mom. "Don't forget my dress, darling. And wear something appropriate tomorrow. The lawyer's wife is on the hospital board." I turned my phone off. Mel's Diner looked exactly like the kind of place my mother would never set foot in. The neon sign buzzed overhead as I pulled into the parking lot, 5 minutes early. Aunt Alice sat in a corner booth stirring coffee. She looked so much like Mom, it was startling. Same high cheekbones, same elegant posture. But her eyes were kinder. "You look just like your father," she said as I slid into the booth. "Everyone says I look like Mom. They're not looking properly." She pushed a manila envelope across the table. "These are copies of documents I've been collecting. Bank statements, property transfers, insurance policies. Your mother's been busy since Robert died." My hands trembled as I opened the envelope. "I don't understand. What does this have to do with Dad's death? Your father's life insurance policy was changed 2 weeks before his accident. Did you know that?" The words hit me like ice water. "What? The beneficiary was changed from you to your mother. She also had him sign over his share of the family business to her the same week." Alice's voice was gentle but firm. "Your father was planning to divorce her, Riley. He found out about her affairs, about the money she'd been moving around." "No," I shook my head. "Dad would have told me." "Would he? With your mother watching your every move?" She reached across the table, touching my hand. "Think about it. The accident happened right after he started asking questions about the business accounts." My phone buzzed. "Daphne, where are you? I'm at your place." Shit, I'd forgotten about meeting her. "I have to go, my friend." "Take the documents." Alice squeezed my hand. "Read them carefully. And Riley, be careful who you trust." 20 minutes later, I burst through my front door to find Daphne sprawled on my couch, wineglass in hand. "There you are." She sat up. "I was about to send a search party. Where were you?" I dropped the manila envelope on the coffee table. "Meeting my aunt." "The mysterious aunt your mom never talks about?" Daphne leaned forward. "Spill. Everything." I told her about the letter, the meeting, the documents. Her eyes widened with each detail. "Holy shit," she whispered when I finished. "Your mom changed his life insurance right before he died?" "Allegedly." I paced the room. "It could be nothing. Just old family drama. Or it could be everything." She reached for the envelope. "Have you looked at these yet?" "No, A knock at the door cut me off. Through the window, I saw Nick on my porch, guitar case strapped to his back. "Ooh, hot musician neighbour," Daphne grinned. "Let him in." I opened the door, trying to ignore how good he looked in his leather jacket. "Hey," he said, shifting nervously. "I know this is weird, but I saw your lights on and, well, I'm heading to the venue early to set up. Thought I'd see if you wanted a ride." "She'd love one," Daphne called from inside. "Just let her change first." Nick laughed. "I'll wait in the car." After he left, Daphne practically pushed me toward my bedroom. "Go. Change. Live a little." "But the documents." "We'll be here when you get back." She held up the envelope. "I'll start going through them. Take pictures of anything suspicious. We'll make a plan tomorrow." "Mom's lawyer appointment is tomorrow. Perfect time to stall while we figure this out." She rummaged through my closet, throwing clothes at me. "Now put these on and go listen to some music. Doctor's orders." 15 minutes later, I slid into Nick's car, wearing clothes that definitely weren't appropriate by my mother's standards. "You look amazing," he said, starting the engine. My phone buzzed. "Mom." "Don't forget tomorrow, 2 p.m. sharp, and I need you to pick up." I turned the phone off. "Everything okay?" Nick asked. "Just family stuff." I forced a smile. "Tell me about your music instead." As we drove, he talked about his band, his songs, his dreams. It was nice hearing someone talk about their passion without calculating how it would benefit the family name. "You seem different tonight," he said as we parked behind the red door. "Different how?" "More here. Present." He turned to face me. "Like you're finally letting yourself breathe." The truth of his words hit hard. When was the last time I'd just breathed? My phone stayed off all night. I watched Nick perform, let myself get lost in the music, in the way his eyes found mine between songs. For a few hours, I wasn't the perfect daughter or the obedient heir. I was just Riley. And somewhere across town, Daphne was uncovering the truth about my family, one document at a time. "You need to see this." Daphne spread the documents across my kitchen table at 7 a.m., coffee cups scattered between papers. "Your aunt wasn't exaggerating." I picked up a bank statement. "What am I looking at?" "These transfers." She pointed to a series of numbers. Your mom moved nearly $500,000 from your dad's business account to a private account 3 days before his accident, then another transfer the day after he died. My coffee turned bitter in my mouth. That doesn't prove anything. No, look at this. She slid over an insurance document. The beneficiary change form. That's your dad's signature, right? I studied it. Something felt off. It looks different. Because it's forged. Daphne pulled out her phone, showing me a photo of Dad's signature from an old birthday card I'd kept. See the difference in the R? The angle's wrong. The room started spinning. I need to sit down. There's more, she hesitated. Your house? The one she wants you to sign over? It's not just about asset protection. Look at this. Another document, a contract with a development company, dated 2 weeks ago. My mother's signature at the bottom. She's planning to sell the entire block to developers. Daphne's voice was gentle. Your house is the last piece they need. My phone buzzed. Mom, where are you? The dress isn't at the cleaners. Call me immediately. I can't deal with this right now. I grabbed my purse. The lawyer appointment? You can't go. Daphne blocked the door. Riley, she killed your father. Or at least had something to do with his death. And now she's trying to take everything you have. I need proof. My voice cracked. Real proof, not just suspicious paperwork. Then let's get it. She pulled out her laptop. I have a friend in the DA's office. These documents are enough to start asking questions. But first, you need to stall that lawyer appointment. My phone buzzed again. Nick, last night was amazing. Coffee later. Answer him, Daphne said. Keep things normal, but we need a plan. I texted Nick back a quick yes, later, and called my mother. Darling, finally. Her voice dripped honey. Where have you been? Sorry, work emergency. Listen about the lawyer. Don't even think about cancelling. Steel beneath the honey now. This is important for the family. I know, but Riley. Her tone shifted, familiar guilt seeping in. After everything I've done for you, everything your father and I sacrificed, the mention of Dad made something snap. I'll be there, but I need to handle something first. Can we make it 3 instead of 2? A pause. Fine. Don't be late. After hanging up, I turned to Daphne. We have until 3. Perfect. She was already typing. My friend can meet us at 1. Bring everything. The morning passed in a blur. At noon, Nick texted again. Bad timing for coffee. You seem stressed. Me. Rain check? Family stuff. Nick. Always family stuff. You okay? Me. Not really. Nick. My door's always open. No pressure. At 1 p.m. sharp, we sat in a coffee shop downtown with Daphne's friend Marcus, a junior DA with kind eyes and a serious expression. This is circumstantial, he said, reviewing the documents, but concerning. Especially the signature forgery and these transfers. Have you spoken to your aunt? Just once. Talk to her again. Get more details about your father's state of mind before the accident. He gathered the papers carefully. I'll look into the development deal too. If there's fraud involved. My phone lit up. Mom, lunch before the lawyer. We can discuss your future. She's trying to keep me close, I realized. She always does this when she wants something. Don't go. Daphne squeezed my hand. We can... No, I stood up. I need to face her, but I'm not signing anything. Marcus handed me his card. Call me if you need help. And Riley? Be careful. People who've gotten away with things once often think they can do it again. Outside, the sun felt too bright. My phone buzzed with a text from Aunt Alice. Did you read everything? We need to talk about the accident report. Accident report. The words echoed in my head as another text came through. Mom. Found the dress myself. Really, Riley, you're becoming so unreliable lately. Just like your aunt. See you at 3. I stared at the message, remembering Dad's last day. How Mom had insisted on driving him to his meeting, how the brake lines had failed on that winding road, how she hadn't shed a single tear at the funeral. Ready? Daphne asked, keys in hand. No. I took a deep breath. But I'm going anyway. The law office lobby felt like a trap. Mom sat perfectly poised in a leather chair, not a hair out of place, scrolling through her phone. Darling, there you are. She didn't look up. You're late. It's 2:55. Which is late, she stood, smoothing her designer dress. I had Santiago stop by to look at your house yesterday. He thinks it could sell quickly in this market. My blood froze. You had a realtor look at my house without telling me. Just preliminary research, dear. For after the transfer. She touched my arm. You know I always plan ahead. Like she'd planned ahead with Dad's insurance policy. The lawyer's door opened. Mrs. Wolfe, we're ready for you. Mom gestured for me to go first, her hand pressing against my back, the same way she used to push me into piano recitals I never wanted to do. Ladies, please sit. The lawyer, Mr. Peters, spread papers across his desk. Now, about the deed transfer. Actually, I interrupted. I have some questions first. Mom's fingers tightened on her purse. Riley, don't be difficult. It's fine, Mr. Peters smiled. Questions are good. What would you like to know? The development contract. I pulled out my phone, showing him the photo Daphne had taken. Why wasn't I informed about this? The colour drained from Mom's face. I'm not sure what document you're referring to, Mr. Peters stammered, glancing at Mom. The one showing my house is the last property needed for the new shopping complex. I turned to Mom. Were you going to tell me before or after I signed? Where did you get that? Her voice was ice. Does it matter? Alice, Mom spat the name like poison. She always was jealous of what your father and I built. What you built? I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. Or what you stole? Mrs. Wolfe, Mr. Peters interjected. Perhaps we should reschedule. No. Mom's composure cracked slightly. Riley, you're being ridiculous. Everything I've done has been for this family. Like changing Dad's life insurance policy? The room went silent. Mr. Peters shifted uncomfortably. I think, he said, standing, you ladies need to discuss this privately. Sit down, Mom's command cracked like a whip. We're finishing this today. My phone buzzed. Daphne. Marcus found something. Get out of there. No, I stood up. We're not. Riley, Mom grabbed my wrist. Think about what you're doing. About your future. The family name. Let go of me. I yanked my arm free. The family name? You mean the one you married into? The one you've been using to control everyone? You ungrateful. She caught herself, smoothing her expression. Darling, you're upset. Let's discuss this over dinner. Like you discussed things with Dad before his accident. Her eyes narrowed. Be very careful what you're implying. Another text. Marcus this time. Don't sign anything. Evidence of fraud found. Meeting tomorrow. Mrs. Wolfe? Mr. Peters tried again. Given the circumstances, fine. Mom stood, perfectly composed once more. We'll handle this at home. Riley, dinner tonight. 7 o'clock. No. Excuse me? I said no. I backed toward the door. And don't come to my house again. Any communication can go through Marcus in the DA's office. Her mask slipped for just a second, but I saw it, the same look she'd had the day Dad died. Cold. Calculating. I ran. In the parking lot, Daphne was waiting in her car, engine running. I jumped in. Drive. What happened? She had a realtor look at my house. My hands were shaking. She's already planning to sell it. Santiago? Daphne pulled onto the main road. The sleazy one from West End Realty? You know him. Unfortunately, he's known for pushing through questionable deals. She handed me her phone. Marcus found the accident report from your dad's crash. The brake lines weren't just failed, they were cut. The world tilted sideways. There's more. Daphne took a sharp turn. The development company? It's owned by your mum's boyfriend, the one she was seeing while your dad was alive. My phone lit up. Mom, this childish behaviour ends now. 7 o'clock. Don't disappoint me again. Then another message from Nick. Saw your mom leaving your house just now. Everything okay? She's at my house? Panic clawed at my throat. Why is she at my house? Not anymore. Daphne hit the gas. But we need to move fast. I have a plan, but you're not going to like it. What? We're going to sell your house before she can. She grinned. And I know just the person to help us screw over Santiago in the process. My phone buzzed one final time. Aunt Alice. Got your message. Meeting set with the detective tomorrow. Don't tell your mother. Too late for that warning. But maybe, just maybe, not too late for revenge. Your mother's going to notice if we list the house, I said as we sat in Daphne's living room that evening. She'd insisted I stay with her, at least for now. Not if we do it quietly, she gestured to the woman sitting across from us. That's where Maria comes in. Maria, a real estate agent with sharp eyes and a sharper smile, spread documents across the coffee table. Santiago's not the only game in town, and he's made plenty of enemies. Can we trust you? I asked. Honey, Santiago stole my biggest client last year through some very questionable methods. She tapped a listing agreement. Trust my desire for revenge. My phone buzzed. Mom, your behavior today was disappointing. I'm giving you one more chance. Dinner, tomorrow, 7 p.m. She's not giving up, I muttered. Good. Maria pulled out her laptop. We can use that. The more distracted she is with controlling you, the less she'll notice what we're doing. How fast can we sell? I have 3 pre-approved buyers looking for exactly this type of property, she typed rapidly. We price it right. We could have offers by Friday. That's 2 days away. Exactly, she looked up. Question is, are you ready for this? Once we start, there's no going back. Another text. Nick, haven't seen you. Getting worried. You okay? Do it, I said. Maria nodded. All business now. Sign here. We'll list under a shell company name. Your mother won't find it unless she's specifically looking. As I signed, Daphne's phone rang. It's Marcus. Hey, what's up? Her eyes widened. When? Okay, we'll be right there. What's wrong? They found something in your dad's old office files. We need to go. Now. 20 minutes later, we sat in Marcus's cramped office while he spread photos across his desk. These were in a hidden safe behind your father's filing cabinet, he explained. Your aunt helped us locate it. Look at the dates. The photos showed Mom with a man I didn't recognize, looking very intimate. They were dated 2 weeks before Dad's death. That's Thomas Reed, Marcus said. CEO of the development company trying to buy your block. The boyfriend, I whispered. More than that. He pulled out more documents. Your father was investigating them, found evidence of fraud, money laundering, the works. The day before his accident, he scheduled a meeting with the SEC. My phone lit up. Mom again. Darling, I know you're upset. Let's talk. I'm outside Daphne's house. What? I jumped up. Marcus moved fast, closing the blinds. How did she know you're here? Find my iPhone, Daphne groaned. She probably still has access from when she set up your phone. A knock on Marcus's office door made us all freeze. Mr. Marcus? His assistant's voice. There's a Mrs. Wolfe here to see you. Says it's about her daughter. Back door, Marcus whispered, pointing. Through the file room. I'll stall her. We slipped out just as I heard Mom's voice in the outer office. This is a family matter. I demand to speak with him immediately. Where now? I asked once we were in Daphne's car. Nick's, she said, pulling out. Your mom doesn't know him well enough to look there. I can't involve him in this. Too late, she handed me her phone. He texted me earlier asking if you're safe. He saw your mom going through your mailbox this afternoon. My hands shook as I texted him. Need a favor? Can we come over? His response was immediate. Doors open. He was waiting on his porch when we pulled up, concern etched on his face. Inside, he said, ushering us through the door. Your mom's car just turned onto the street. We huddled in his darkened living room, watching through the blinds as Mom's Mercedes crawled past. Want to tell me what's going on? Nick asked quietly. So I did. All of it. The house, the documents, Dad's death, everything. When I finished, he was silent for a long moment. Then, what do you need? A place to hide until Friday, Daphne answered. The house should be sold by then. Stay here. He grabbed his keys. I'll get some groceries, make it look normal. If anyone asks, you're helping me practice for an upcoming show. After he left, Daphne squeezed my hand. See? Not everyone's like your mom. My phone buzzed one final time that night. Aunt Alice. Detective has enough to move forward. Meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. Be ready. Ready for what? Daphne asked, reading over my shoulder. To finish this, I said, watching Mum's car circle the block again. One way or another. Through the window, I could see my house across the street, dark and empty. By Friday, it would be sold. By Friday, everything would change. I just had to survive until then. Friday arrived with 3 offers on my house and a text from Mom. This ends today. Family dinner. 7 p.m. Non-negotiable. Perfect timing, Maria said, spreading the offers across Nick's kitchen table. All over asking price. This one's cash, no contingencies. We can close in 5 days. Take it, I said, signing where she pointed. Your mother's going to notice when the sale records go public, Daphne warned. That's the plan. I checked my phone. Detective Roberts. Search warrant executed. Meeting in 30 minutes. Nick appeared in the doorway, guitar case in hand. Need backup? No, Daphne and I said together. He smiled. Wasn't asking. I'll drive. The police station hummed with activity. Detective Roberts met us in the lobby, her face grim. We found the evidence, she said, leading us to a conference room. Financial records, emails between your mother and Thomas Reed dating back 5 years, and this. She slid a plastic evidence bag across the table. Inside was a receipt from an auto shop, dated 2 days before Dad's accident. Brake line replacement, I read. But his brakes were cut. Exactly. She replaced them, then had them cut. Created a paper trail showing maintenance in case anyone looked too closely. My hands started shaking. Nick grabbed one, squeezing gently. There's more, Detective Roberts continued. We found drafts of your father's will on his laptop. He was planning to leave everything to you, cut your mother out completely. The version filed after his death is a forgery. So what happens now? Daphne asked. Now? The detective smiled. Now we wait for 7 p.m. Mum's house was lit up like a Christmas tree when we arrived. Her Mercedes sat in the driveway next to a familiar Porsche. Thomas Reed's car, Detective Roberts noted from her unmarked vehicle across the street. Right on schedule. You don't have to go in, Nick said, squeezing my hand again. Yes, I do. Mum opened the door before I could knock, perfect smile in place. Darling, and, oh, I wasn't expecting company. They're with me. Her smile tightened. This is a family dinner. They are family. I pushed past her into the foyer, the kind that doesn't try to kill you. She froze. In the dining room, Thomas Reed stood up so quickly his chair toppled. Riley? Mum's voice turned sharp. You're being dramatic. Am I? I pulled out my phone, playing the recording from Dad's laptop that Detective Roberts had found. Dad's voice filled the room. Maren's been moving money. Large amounts. If anything happens to me, Riley, it's not an accident. The proof is in the... Mom slapped the phone from my hand. Enough. No, Mother, not enough. I backed toward the door as Nick and Daphne moved to flank me. The house is sold. The documents are with the DA. It's over. You ungrateful little... She lunged forward, but Thomas grabbed her arm. Maren, don't... Police! Nobody move! Detective Roberts burst through the door, followed by uniformed officers. Mum's face went from rage to calculated calm in an instant. This is ridiculous, she said as they read her rights. Riley, darling, tell them this is a misunderstanding. Like Dad's accident was a misunderstanding. Her mask cracked. For the first time, I saw the truth in her eyes, cold, hard, and utterly without remorse. Everything I did was for this family, she hissed as they cuffed her. You'll regret this. You're nothing without me. Nothing. No, Mom. I watched as they led her and Thomas away. I'm everything Dad knew I could be. Later, sitting on Nick's porch, watching police lights flash across my childhood home, I felt strangely empty. Hey, Nick handed me a coffee. You okay? I don't know what I am. You're free, Daphne said, joining us. And rich, apparently. Maria just texted. The house sale closed. Money's in escrow. My phone buzzed. Aunt Alice. It's done. Your father would be proud. What now? Nick asked softly. I looked at my house, at the sold sign Maria had already planted in the yard, at Mom's empty driveway, at the life I'd been too afraid to live. Now, I turned to him. Now I want to hear your music. He smiled, reaching for his guitar. As the first notes floated into the night air, Daphne raised her coffee cup. To Karma, she said. To freedom, I corrected. My phone buzzed one last time. Detective Roberts. Confessions secured. Both of them. It's really over. I turned the phone off and closed my eyes, letting Nick's music wash over me. For the first time since Dad died, I felt his presence, not in Mom's carefully curated photos or in the family name she'd wielded like a weapon, but in the quiet strength I'd finally found. I was my father's daughter after all, and I was free. The courthouse steps felt colder than they should have in spring. I sat between Daphne and Nick, watching people file in for the sentencing hearing. You don't have to make a statement, Aunt Alice said, squeezing my shoulder. The plea deal is solid. I need to. I stood as the bailiff called us in. For Dad. The courtroom filled quickly. Mom sat at the defendant's table, perfectly groomed even in her prison jumpsuit. She didn't look back. All rise. As the judge entered, Thomas Reed was led in from a side door. He'd turned state's evidence, detailing everything, the fraud, the affair, Dad's murder. Mum's face remained impassive. Before sentencing, the judge said, I understand the victim's daughter wishes to speak. I walked to the podium, my prepared statement crumpling in my sweaty hands. Mum finally turned, her eyes meeting mine. Your Honour, I started, then stopped. Looked down at my written words, looked at Mom, set the paper aside. My father taught me that family means protection, love, and truth. My mother taught me that family is a weapon, a chain, a lie. My voice grew stronger. She killed my father because he discovered her lies. She tried to take my home because it fit her plans. She controlled my life because she could. Mom's expression flickered. But here's what she didn't know. I gripped the podium. Every time she pushed, she made me stronger. Every lie taught me to seek truth. Every manipulation showed me what real love isn't. Nick smiled encouragingly from the gallery. I'm not here for vengeance. I'm here because my father deserved justice, and because some chains need to be broken publicly so others can see they're not alone. The judge nodded. Thank you, Ms. Wolfe. Does the defendant wish to speak? Mom stood, elegant, even in chains. Your Honour, everything I did was for my family. My daughter is young, easily influenced by others who don't understand our world, our position. Still lying, I said quietly. She faltered. Mrs. Wolfe, the judge interrupted, I've reviewed the evidence, the premeditation, the years of financial abuse, the calculated murder of your husband. This wasn't for family. This was for power. The sentence came down hard. 30 years. No possibility of parole. As they led her away, Mom turned one last time. Riley. Goodbye, Mother. Outside, reporters clustered on the steps. Aunt Alice guided me through them to where Truman waited with his car. Ready for part 2? He asked. I nodded. The family business offices looked different now. Empty desks, packed boxes, Dad's name still on the door. The board approved everything, Truman said, handing me papers. The company's yours, as it should have been all along. Not mine, I corrected. Ours. I signed the documents, watching as our small team gathered. Truman, who'd always seen through Mum's facade. Daphne, whose loyalty never wavered. Nick, whose music helped me find my voice. Aunt Alice, carrying Dad's true legacy. The Riley Wolfe Foundation, I announced, will provide legal aid to victims of financial abuse and domestic violence. Every penny my mother stole will help others break free. Robert would love this, Aunt Alice whispered. My phone buzzed. Detective Roberts, package arrived from evidence, your father's personal effects. In Dad's old office, I opened the box. Photos, notebooks, his favourite pen, and an envelope marked, for Riley. Inside was a letter, dated the day before his death. My dearest daughter, if you're reading this, my suspicions were right. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you from what's coming, but you're stronger than you know, Stronger than your mother's influence, stronger than her lies. The truth about family isn't in names or appearances, it's in the people who stand beside you when the masks fall away. Find your truth, Riley. Find your family. All my love. Dad. Nick found me there, letter in hand, tears falling. "Hey," he said softly. "The Foundation's first board meeting is starting. You coming?" I looked around the office, at Dad's empty chair, at the future waiting beyond his door. "Actually," I smiled, wiping my eyes, "I have a better idea." That evening, we gathered at the Blue Door, Nick's band playing, Daphne and Truman dancing, Aunt Alice sharing Dad's favourite stories. The Foundation could wait one night. My phone lit up one last time. A message from Maria. Final paperwork filed. The old house is officially transformed into a shelter for abuse survivors. Your mother's family legacy is now helping people escape others like her. Poetic justice? I watched my chosen family celebrate, felt Dad's words in my heart and typed back, "No, just justice." Then I turned off my phone, took Nick's hand, and stepped onto the dance floor. Some chains are meant to be broken. Some families are meant to be chosen. Some legacies are meant to be transformed. And some daughters are meant to be free. 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 Daughters are meant to be free.